Every tree has roots, every life has branches, and every adoption has a story. Some stories begin with questions, some begin with loss. All of them are rooted in love and the search for connection. This is Janet Monroe, and this is Roots and Branches Adoption Stories, a podcast where real stories take root and grow. Because the more we share, the more we understand, and understanding helps us grow. Now, here's Janet Monroe.
Hello, and welcome to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories. The roots represent the birth parents and the adopted parents, whereas the branches encompass the far-reaching effects of adoption, from the siblings to grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and friends. Today we are continuing with Michelle's story. Last week we had a conversation about Victoria and the challenges Michelle and Tom faced as parents. Today we're hearing about the second part of her adopted family, which comes with the challenges of interracial adoption in small-town Ontario. Michelle, the mic is yours. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Let's hear your story.
All right, so when Victoria was about 9 or 10, we felt that she was doing really well and that we really wanted to expand our family. So we had not been using birth control, but nothing had happened. So we went to a doctor and started all those processes. But because when we adopted Victoria, we did that out of choice, not because of fertility issues. And then we found out we did have fertility issues. And we tried a couple of things to get pregnant. But during that process, Victoria's behaviors really escalated. And we came to the conclusion that no matter if we had a birth child, that no matter what we said or did, she would never feel like we loved her the same as our birth child. So we made that decision that we weren't going to go any further trying for birth children, and we decided we wanted to adopt. But we did want to have the experience of adopting babies, because Victoria was 4 when we got her, and I love babies. So we called the children's aid up. It was kind of funny because we called them up in February of 2004, and I called up my adoption worker, and because of the experience with Victoria, I was really, really open to open adoption. I knew that, but all the reading and everything I had been doing since Victoria moved in, I knew that open adoption was the best way for the children if it was possible. And so I was really passionate about it and believed in it. And also I was willing to do foster to adopt, which meant I was willing to do fostering a baby or a child and help them go home with their mom. But if it wasn't going to work, that I could be open to adoption. And so that, between us having Victoria and not giving up on her when other people had, and between being willing to do open, because that was 21 years ago and open was still really new, that put us to the top of the list. And so we put our name on the list in February, and which is kind of funny because that's the month that Andrew was born. And in August, we got a call that they had a baby for us, and that was Andrew. And Andrew was in foster care, and he was 6 months old when he came to us, and he had to come really fast because his foster family was moving out of the area, and they needed to move him. So they didn't want to move him twice. They felt confident that his mom was not able to parent, and so they wanted to move him into a home that he might be able to stay at, and because they had tried to help his mom parent, and it wasn't working. So he came into our home. We did visits with his birth mom. I got to know his birth mom, and she actually asked us to adopt Andrew when she came to the conclusion that she was not going to be able to parent him. She asked us to adopt him, and I kind of feel like I adopted her too and her family. So especially at that time. She used to come to our house a lot. She came to see Andrew. We didn't live in the same town, but eventually she followed us. When we moved to Aurelia, she followed us. And so it kind of felt like a really good connection. And then, so we had this little baby at 6 months. And then when he was about 2, his biological mom told me that she was pregnant again and asked us if we would adopt her next baby. And that was before she was even 1 month pregnant. So during her whole pregnancy, she had planned for her to come to us. I was able to breastfeed her. This was 19 years ago, so there's probably even new technology then, but that seemed amazing to me. I took medications that women take who are not producing enough milk. They were herbs and stuff, and it was an anti-ulcer medication and herbs, and drank a lot and ate oatmeal. Oatmeal, I guess, is something. I couldn't drink beer. I hate beer. And I had to pump every couple of hours for the 6 weeks leading up to her moving in. But I got to breastfeed her, which was an incredible experience. I didn't have a lot of milk, and I'm guessing that is because I wasn't ever pregnant, but I was able to experience that, and she was able to experience that. And then they had this amazing thing where a silicone straw, so that would go into a bottle of formula and then come out right beside my nipple, so she would be just on my nipple but still getting both breast milk and formula. So it was a great experience, really great experience. So I was really blessed to have that experience. And Andrew is now 21 and Abby is 19. And it was a different experience parenting kids who came when they were babies. Both kids came from families their family that had some neurodivergent stuff with brains. So we still had to do a lot of the same work we did with Victoria, with getting assessments and getting supports in school. Excuse me. But it was a different experience because we had them since they were babies. And yeah, Abby's birth father is Jamaican. So when we first adopted Victoria, at that point in time, they had this, it was awful, but they had this, it was, I don't even remember what the name of it was, but we went down to Toronto to a conference to see videos and pictures of kids who were waiting to be adopted. It felt like it made my stomach feel sick to walk around. It felt like we were shopping for kids. It was awful. I don't know if they still do it. And at that time, when we adopted Victoria, like, I loved so many different kids, but we made the decision to adopt Victoria and not adopt a biracial child, even though there was lots of choices, because Tom's mom really struggled with racism. Like, she had grown up that way, and it would have just been really hard for her to love the child the same. So when Abby came, and her birth father was Jamaican, and we knew that, the difference was that Tom's mom had a stroke by then, and so she was not the same person anymore, and she was no longer racist. So she was able to love Abby and not make Abby feel bad. So I'm glad that we got the chance to do that. And we did struggle with her where we lived. There was no other black kids in her school. There was one other black kid later in her life, but not when she was younger. And she experienced racism all the way from kindergarten up, with little things, like her two friends saying, well, we're the princesses because we look alike and you are the Wicked Witch. Little things like that. It was never me. Like, it wasn't on purpose being racist. It was really just not understanding. And we really had to educate, but we didn't know what we know now about how to educate people to be anti-racist, and not to just ignore the color of skin, as opposed to recognizing it, seeing it, and then not treating someone differently because of it. So she did experience racism. She experienced racism in my in-laws' family. She experienced racism through school, and she also felt like there was a part of her that she didn't know, because she knew her birth mom and her birth mom's family, but she didn't know her birth father at all. We don't know who he is. We haven't been able to connect with him. We've tried. So she is curious about that. Like, she's really close to my husband, Tom, and like they have an amazing relationship. So she's not missing a dad, but she's missing knowing about who she is in that part. And when she went to high school, a Black social worker came to the school and started talking with her. And it was really, and before that, she met a Black politician who lived near us. And they used to talk on the phone once a week because she felt like she needed to be connected with her culture. And that was during COVID. And then we were going to go down to Barrie to try to join in with some Black churches and stuff like that. And then COVID happened. So she did definitely, now as an adult, she's reaching out and finding connections with people that, and learning about that side of her culture. And she didn't get to learn that with us. We should have made more of an effort with that, and didn't realize that was something that we should have and could have done, because when she started to be interested and telling us that, it was right exactly when COVID happened. So we couldn't go out and about and go to the festivals or meet people the way that we would have liked. So, do you have any questions about that?
How about you? Were you treated differently because you had a Black child?
I think sometimes, like when we were at places where people didn't know us, I felt like sometimes there was questioning looks, like how does this family fit together? Because Andrew, who is Abby's older brother, is like a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, and Tom is blonde-haired, blue-eyed. So it felt funny that we all of a sudden had also Abby, who was Black. When we were together with my extended family, my sister-in-law is from Thailand, so it was a really cultural mix there, and it didn't seem to matter at all. But when it was just us out and about at places, like if we went to a water park or something like that, sometimes we got looks, especially at the beginning when she was younger. Yeah, and as we got older, people became less surprised and more understanding about different families. But, at the very beginning, 19 years ago, people, expected families to be cookie cutter families, right? Like, we've all changed so much.
I have to be honest with you, because I think the first time I saw you with Abby, I probably gave you one of those looks as well.
Did you? I probably don't. One thing that I have that is really great is I don't notice stuff like that, but she probably possibly noticed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mind you, I was a long way away when I first saw it. It wasn't like we were right together. I was across a crowded room. But I'm sure that I probably gave you a look.
Yeah.
Because it was something that I was not
trying to figure it out. And some of it's just trying to figure it out. Yeah, for sure. And I think that comes across. So Abby will have felt that in a different way than someone who is Black and is in a family of Black people. They'll notice when people are treating them badly. Like, they'll notice when a security guard is paying more attention to them than to their white friend. But they won't get the weird looks in their family. So Abby would have gotten both of that, really. And I might not have noticed it. Yeah. And I think unless you live it, you can't really know it.
No, and I know I don't do it anymore because it's kind of every day now. I've got part of my home open to Airbnb, and I have Indian and Chinese coming together, and
right.
All kinds. So because it doesn't matter anymore. We're all the same on the inside, right? It's only the color of the skin that makes us different.
It is. That is true. But I also think because who we are is so connected. We have our personalities, we have our souls, but I think we are so connected genetically to who we came from that it is important to recognize it and notice it. So one little girl once said to Abby at the park, it was so cute. She said, so you know how in chicken there's dark meat and white meat? And they must have been like 6, right? And Abby's like, yeah, I like white meat. And the little girl goes, well, I like dark meat. And she goes, and you're the dark meat and I'm the white meat. Like, this is at the park, right? Like, it's just so cute. But Abby is even getting that she is working in Toronto, which is pretty multicultural, at a day camp, and she's getting questions about the color of her skin, even there from some kids. So why is your skin like so much darker than mine? Did you not put sunscreen on? Like, and these are little kids. It's not mean spirited. It's just curiosity. Yeah. So I think that can be tiring.
Kids just say it the way it is.
Yeah, but I think it would be tiring for Abby to feel like she's a little bit different than everyone. And I think kids who are adopted have that feeling anyways, because they feel like maybe every kid, I think, I'm generalizing, but I think everyone at some point, especially through their teenage years, goes through a period where they wonder that they don't fit in with their family, or they don't feel like they are the same as their family. And that is a pretty normal thing to go through. But when the layer of adoption is there, then they're like, I don't fit with my family. And really, I just don't fit with my family. I think that happens to everyone. And when there's a cultural difference, that is another layer. The good thing is that Abby is so much like Tom. Like, they have this really bent sense of humor. So the two of them go around having this bent sense of humor that nobody else in our entire family has. And that has helped her to feel connected and grounded and part of our family in a great way. So I think that is part of it, is saying this stuff is because of adoption, but this stuff is just going to happen anyways, and trying to keep that like real instead of making it too big of a deal. Does that make sense?
So Andrew, who's now 21, you say he works with you and Tom?
Yeah, he
And in
is
your
just
own business?
he's a young man, so he's a little bit slower in trying to figure out what he wants to do. He's always wanted to be some kind of a mechanic. So now that he's a little bit older, he's going to try again. I think he wants to be a motorcycle mechanic. So he's just kind of figuring out his way. And because we own a handyman business, you can see I have paint on me. That he's lucky he gets to come work with us, and he's learned a lot of great skills, including starting to really learn how to become a harder worker, which sometimes some young men take a little bit of time on that. And he wants to become a motorcycle mechanic, which I think he thinks that it'll be part-time, like it'll be a summery kind of work, but maybe it'll eventually be full-time. So he's interested in that. He he struggled through his teen years, and he struggled more than Abby did through her teen years. Abby is she received some character traits from her birth family, like her grandfather and her uncle, that she's very resilient, and she has an amazing sense of humor. So she's very she can handle a lot, and she's so practical. She's just very practical. She doesn't take anything, like, no big drama. But Andrew is a bit more sensitive. He very much got some of his sensitivity from his birth mom, and his birth mom struggles with depression sometimes, and so does Andrew sometimes. And but he's really working hard at working through that. It's interesting because they saw their birth family all the way through. The only time they had a break was during COVID. And a little bit after COVID, Abby didn't see her grandfather because something happened that made her feel uncomfortable. So we listened to Abby, but they see each other again now. But Andrew won't talk to his birth family right now. He'll talk to his birth uncle, but he won't talk to his birth mom. And I think that he's struggling through being angry at her, but not recognizing that he is. So that's something that is just going to take a little bit of time.
So Andrew's future.
I just read something from a woman. Her name is Stacy Gagnon, and she's from the United States. She's on Facebook, and she is a trauma and adoption specialist. She fostered and adopted multiple kids, and she just wrote an amazing article on shame. You might want to, if you're doing your podcast, you might want to read that. I tried to send it to you, but it didn't work, so I posted it. Maybe you can find it. But
Yes,
she
I did
basically,
find it.
you saw it? So it was amazing, because she said basically what children do is when they are not with their birth family. Even if we're telling them, your birth mother loved you and wanted you, she just didn't have the supports and didn't have the skills and just couldn't look after you. So she asked us to. And even when we tell him that, and even when we tell him how much he's loved, there's a part of him inside that believes that that there must be something wrong with him, that he's not with his birth mother. Even though logically he knows, like, he's met his birth mother, he knows that she couldn't look after him in the life that he had. It's still inside of him, and it might not be even conscious. And I think that happens to a lot of kids who are adopted. They take on this shame that there's something wrong with them. And that is something that we can't fix. We just have to love and be patient and hope that with time and with hard work that they can come to that place of realizing that they're whole and perfect and worth loving.
Yes, I know my son Dwayne mentioned to me that he didn't feel that, he loved his adoptive parents, but he didn't feel connected to them. That connection was missing, and he did things that, he took apart the washing machine one day because he wanted to know how it worked, to put it together, and his adoptive parents couldn't understand why he wanted to do that. But my dad was an electrical engineer and was always taking things apart and putting them back together. So he got that desire from us, but he didn't know where it came from. After we met and he got some answers to questions that he had, and that just made a huge difference to him, to his life.
Like Andrew loves cars and stuff, and we don't know where that comes from because my husband hates anything to do with fixing cars. So we have not shown him that or worked with him on that at all, but it's always something he's been interested in. We can drive by a car. Ever since he was little, he'd drive by a car. He knew exactly what kind of car that was, and he knows everything about cars, but that's not from us. And that is the so interesting part about being an adoptive family.
So do you know Andrew's birth dad as well?
We have met him over the phone and over Facebook, and he has tried to connect with Andrew, but it hasn't really worked.
Does he have any connection to cars?
He did work at a detailing of a car place, so he may have that. It may be in his background, but we haven't been able to connect to find out like his grandparents and all that kind of stuff. It just didn't connect the same way that it did when you connected with your son.
Right.
And part of it might be Andrew. Andrew's pushing back, like he wants to reject before he gets rejected, kind of thing.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes time, right, to realize how everything falls into place in your life.
Yeah, and until he gets a bit older, and he really is, in the last year, he's really grown a lot and matured a lot, and that has changed things for sure. So, and like his brain is still developing.
And Abby's future, what does that look like?
Well, she is a really hard worker, and she has a significant LD. And when she went into high school, they put her in locally developed, which is basic. When we were in high school, it would have been called basic, because they thought that that's all she could do. Well, she managed to work her butt off during high school, and even passed 2 university level English classes, and graduated with honors and went to college for a social service worker. So she wants to give back and help people. And so she hasn't figured out exactly where she's going to go social services worker. There's so many different places. And she may go to university as well. She might be getting a scholarship through Pinball Clemens, because she started a Black Excellence group at her high school when she was in grade 11. So she might be getting a scholarship for helping with that. So that's pretty exciting. But right now she's just starting her second year of Humber in September. And she in her first year of college, she has 80%, which some people think that's not a big deal. But for her, this is amazing. She worked so hard to do that. We're so proud of her.
Okay.
Congratulations
to her for all she's
accomplishing. And she's having fun. Yeah, she's having fun.
That's it. So she's accepted that she's adopted. She knows her birth mom and is able to keep in touch with her and the family. So that's good. All being well, at some point in time, she'll have a connection with her birth dad as well and know where she came from.
Yeah, we might do one
Okay,
of those
so
DNA tests.
in all the adoptions that you've had, what would you say was your biggest resource that you used to help you out when you just because I'd like to
So,
get a list of resources to be able to put on the website so that people have places that they can contact
well, there's a
for
group
assistance.
that I got just connected to lately through Facebook called Interwoven Connections. It used to be called Adopt for Life, but they've changed it to Interwoven Connections because as adoption is less and less the only option. And they have a lot of amazing resources, and they have different groups. So I'm in a couple of different groups with them because I'm a grandparent parenting Adriana. There's a grandparents group and then other groups. Um, how we adopted all of our kids is through Children's Aid, but and I'm not saying that that's not an option, but Children's Aid does not give great support. And also because of the lean away from adoption, people may be taking the training and then be waiting a really long time. So I think they're gonna have to look privately and tell everyone if you want to adopt, tell everyone you know that you want to adopt, because you're more likely to get someone through a connection of a connection of a connection than you are through Children's Aid, I would guess. I'm not an expert on that administrative side of things, but the Children's Aid doesn't, they don't give great support. I just imagine that an adoption or having kids in families and having permanency for these kids should be the most important thing, and having huge supports would be like the best thing ever, but they don't really. So you have to find your own stuff. So with Interwoven Connections, they have different groups. Like I know there's a group in Niagara Falls that they all go to Great Wolf Lodge together, or maybe it's not Niagara Falls, but in like a little town near there where a whole bunch of people who are adopted all go together. So because sometimes it can be isolating when you adopt kids with special needs, other family members struggle to understand um, the kids that have different needs. Like the kids that have some behaviors, and that just being a strong disciplinarian isn't going to necessarily fix that. So finding people who are going to support you with adoption is really important. And I found a really great friend who we all feel like our whole family is safe with, because when groups or organizations or people exclude a child who has special needs, then they exclude the whole family. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Um, did you feel excluded?
For sure. Sometimes, and like I'm really lucky with my family. Like my mom is amazing. Like she just put her heart out there and loved my kids. Loved them the same way she loved my brother's kids. And my brother's family worked really hard to accept all of our kids. Now, our youngest one, Adriana, who's 9, has ADHD and is super high energy. That overwhelms their family because they're all very gentle and quiet. But they've tried really hard to love her and not treat her differently. But finding people who are going to love your whole family and get that kids who have special needs are going to be different, those are the best people to find. So,
Yes.
and and sometimes you don't find them until you have that family, and then you find those people.
Okay.
Does
Okay.
that
Thank
help?
you
I
so
don't
much.
know if that helps.
The whole conversation just inspires people. We have people that want to adopt that are listening. We have people that have children with special needs that like to hear the story and know that they're not alone. It's just whatever you say contributes to these stories that we're trying to get out there so that everybody knows that they're not alone. There's someone else with a story similar to theirs, and somebody else is listening. And all these stories need to be told. And that's my feeling, because my story had a happy ending until it didn't, but still it was getting together with the son that had put up for adoption, and it just makes a difference when you can find those, and talking to people like you who opened up your hearts to children that need assistance, that need love. It just makes other people feel good, right? And that's what we're all
Yes.
about. We have to make everybody feel good for
Yes,
what they're doing.
we have to take away the shame. So Victoria's birth family will not meet with her. And the only thing I can think of is that it's shame that they feel that they feel ashamed that they didn't take her, or that they didn't do what they needed to protect her, or that they could have done more, or, fetal alcohol. Like her mom didn't know. No one knew about fetal alcohol then. None of them knew,
No.
and they all have their own struggles, and there's no judgment. Like, they did what they had to do at that moment, and everything had to happen for a reason. Like, if they had have taken her, we wouldn't have gotten her, and then we wouldn't have her, and we wouldn't have Adriana. So, like, everything happened for a reason, but they won't talk to her, and so that is very painful for her. And that, the only thing I can think of is that they feel ashamed, and that's what we have to take away, the shame. Like, maybe did you struggle with some shame when you had to give up your baby? And there shouldn't have been any shame there. You should have been allowed to grieve him and hold him and say goodbye to him, and you got to see him again and give him all that love and share all that with him and tell him that you loved him and that you never wanted. It wasn't that you didn't want him. And those things made a difference for him, right?
Yes.
So, because you had to be brave.
I had to do what I felt was necessary at the time.
That's right.
And there's other women out there like me that have done that, and some of them don't even admit it still. So by telling these stories, it gives everybody the option to come forward with their own stories, to look for their child, or for the child to look for them, and knowing that things can work out. They're going to work out the way they're supposed to work out.
They're going to work out the way they're supposed to, and there can be some healing, even if it doesn't connect in the exact same way that you got to connect. There still can be some healing from both parties, because carrying that shame is like, it's so hard. We're not supposed to carry shame. Shame is not supposed to be who we are. And so if you're at home right now and you're wondering if you should reach out to your birth children or your birth mom, you are good and you are worthy, and you do not have to carry that shame. The right thing is going to happen. You can meet them.
And I agree, and this is what this is all about. Just making people feel that they can talk, that they have the freedom to be able to talk. They don't have to carry that shame. They can just let it go and know that they're not the only ones out there. And that's how we're going to end with this conversation. So I thank you very much, Michelle, for being on today. I really appreciate all the stories that you've been able to tell. I just admire you for what you've done and how you've processed everything from your first daughter, Victoria, and what she went through, and how you're still dealing with that, because that's still a challenge for you. How you now have Adriana, Addie, you've had Andrew, and you've had Abby, and everybody's going to work out all right. They're going to be in the place they're meant to be.
The place they're meant to be.
Yeah.
The journey they're meant to take.
And everybody has their own journey.
Exactly.
So let's cut it off at that. And thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. It's been good to see you. And maybe we can get together and have lunch one day.
Yes, let's do that. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories, where every tree has roots, every life has branches, and every adoption has a story. Got an adoption story you want to tell? Want to learn more about adoption stories? Then visit rootsandbranchesadoptionstories.com.